game today.
You get the
Yay!
game. You want a game? I'll give you a game.
No, for real, no, I have no time.
Okay.
No.
We did find out that Eddie's cat's name is Opie.
Aw, I love Eddie's cat. Where is Eddie's cat?
He's hiding under a blanket. He showed
Aw,
for a bit and then
that that's
went
it.
away.
Eddie's cat gets a non-participation grade for today.
Yeah, well, it's rainy and windy, and if I were a
That's true.
cat, I'd be hiding under a
True.
blanket too.
That's true.
Actually, I'd prefer to be hiding under a blanket right now. Okay, so new reading quizzes up. Tomorrow we'll get the new Write Club. I got through all the Write Clubs. I gave credit for all the character sheets. I gave credit for all the DMs who emailed me that you played. If you don't have any credit for having played and you played, get on your DM's case and say, hey, email Dean to tell him that we played, because I think I only got 2 out of the 4. So two DMs are bad.
So we have some messages in chat that I think you should.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing them.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get to it.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get all business done.
Right.
So I have also posted a link to the adventure on whatever, it's the Dungeon Masters Guild. I don't know. Yeah, it's the Dungeon Masters Guild. It costs $4 to purchase the adventure. So please give the $4 and go read the adventure. It is longer than the usual adventure, but it comes in at like total 47 pages, but lots of that is like all the handouts, all the letters, all the maps, and stats and stuff. So you don't have to read all of that. Read the adventure, right? There's this was originally also for a thing called the Adventurers Guild, which is in D&D parlance, you go to like a store, a game store, and on a Saturday, and you can bring your own character and get in a game and play D&D, and then if you say you move away, right, and you're somewhere across the country, you can go to a different game store and get in another session of D&D with the same character, and pick up in more or less where you left off. That's the idea. It depends on where they are in the whole run of it, but they have like seasons of this, like TV seasons, where basically every week there's a new adventure. And for instance, this one was originally written for, I think, 3rd level characters, and it's scalable. The DM, say people show up and you're supposed to take whoever comes, and people show up with all 5th level characters. Well, you can scale the adventure to accept a party of 5th level characters. You can make it harder. Or if everybody shows up with 1st level characters, you could scale it to that. And there are instructions for that. So all of those kind of instructions, you don't really have to worry about. Um, they're they're there for this Adventurers Guild thing. There's also a whole bunch of things about awarding points and XP and stuff. That's all Adventurers Guild stuff, and I don't care about any of that. Um, uh, okay. How'd we do? I'd actually like to hear voices today if I can. Um, so, because I want to hear your stories. So, if let's see, participants manage participants. Can I do? There we go. Is there a way? Do you know? I know I've seen this elsewhere. To raise your hand.
Yes.
There's a hand. Okay. So if I'm going to lower your hands now. You have all figured it out better than I have. So I'm going to ask. We have 4 groups. So can somebody from one of the groups tell me what happened in your? Okay. First off, how do you raise your hand for the people who don't know? I think you just right click on yourself. Is that true?
You click on the participants button.
Okay, click on the participants button and it's there. See, I'm the host, so I don't have the raise hand button. Okay. But what I'd like is somebody from each group to raise their hand, and I'll unmute you and you tell us what happened. So somebody want to tell us? Okay, Hannah, I am unmuting you. Tell us what happened in your group.
Well, hi, I'm Hannah. We
Hi,
went
Hannah.
on an adventure and we met somebody who ended up being assassinated by a cult leader.
Okay.
And we were framed for the assassination. So our adventure was trying to clear our name and figure out who did it. And basically, we had there were, I think, 4 of us and the lead and the DM, and we ended up meeting the boys, which was a guild along the way. We made friends. It was a lot of embellishing story. It was really fun.
Okay.
We went to the windmill and we beat up.
First off, where did you go first?
It was like a party.
Right after you went to like the theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
It all started, and the guy was assassinated, and then you went to where did you go after you got?
We went
the theater?
To the shopkeeper who needed like help moving his stuff.
Okay. And he had like a flying machine?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a flying machine, and we made friends with the Lord's Alliance.
Okay.
In our story, and we called them the boys.
Okay.
And we had them come in and help us move stuff, but we got stopped in our tracks by the police.
Okay. You ran into some kind of patrol.
Yes, we murdered them.
Okay.
But it was all okay. We were forgiven for our crimes against humanity.
So after you escaped and you got out of the inventor's workshop, you met a patrol and you killed them all, and then where did you go?
We brought the machinery to the boys, and they were hiding it for us so that we got our pay from the inventor.
Okay.
And then we started sleuthing around trying to figure out where the secret hiding place of the cult was.
And how did you find that out?
Oh, I forget what his name was, but we talked to this guy.
Was he a lordy guy or a bird guy?
He was a lordy guy.
Okay. And that led you to an old windmill?
Yeah, we found the windmill. There was a girl praying inside. We basically beat her up. And then we went upstairs and beat up other people. One person jumped out the window. I jumped after them and I insulted them to death. It was real good.
Okay. That sounds cool. How did you
Yeah.
insult a person to death?
Well, I have vicious mockery because I'm a bard.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, I just insulted him to death, as you do.
As you do. You're an insult comic.
Yeah. Well, it turns out I'm an awful bard and I cannot dance, I cannot play my instruments, I cannot tell jokes, but I can insult.
Yep. That sounds great. Okay, well, okay, so that's one story. I'm gonna mute you again there, Hannah, and I'm gonna go over to Eddie, who I hope is from a different group. And I'm trying to unmute you. Oh, there we go. Eddie, are you from a different group than Hannah?
Yes.
What happened in your group?
So we were at the theater.
Yeah.
The guy got assassinated.
Yeah.
So we left. We found some clues, like a poster on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And we heard about the guy who got murdered in his shop in Fireball Alley.
Okay.
We went to check that out. I unlocked the door with my great sword.
As you do.
So we went in, found some wizard guy upstairs who called the guards. Someone threatened to set the place on fire with his torch.
Was that one of the other players?
Yes.
Okay.
We convinced one guy to leave, and I had to kill the other one.
The wizard or the guard guy?
The guards. The wizard
Okay.
just left.
Oh, okay.
And then we found some more clues, and we left. And I burnt it down as we left.
Okay. Kind of brutal.
Then we found out about these peasants, beggars, the bird people.
Okay.
So we tracked them down into their sewer. We listened to them. We heard them talking about the gift of flight.
Yeah.
So we went over so we left without confronting them. We went
Okay.
over to the guy's workshop. It was on fire.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we went back to the bird people. We talked. There was a little peasant girl who translated.
Okay.
And we basically got their list of people who they needed to follow.
Yeah.
So we went to the person alive on that list. The guy, the mansion. It was on fire.
Okay. But it was on
But-
fire. Did you find the guy though?
No.
Oh, okay.
So we went to the windmill, the last location on the list.
Okay.
I unlocked the door with my great sword again,
Uh-huh.
but this time there were people in there. So we killed them. We went upstairs. There was a guy. We knew he could fly, so we went and we blocked all the exits. We stopped him from burning the evidence. He tripped, and I pinned him, and that was it.
Oh. So you got both the bad guy and
rolled
the
a
evidence
natural
to
one.
clear your name. Okay,
Yes.
so
And then we burned the windmill down.
you burn. So
There were 5 fires total,
5 fires. You burned everything,
including the
down.
one at. 3 of them were not.
I keep losing you.
3
But
others were not us.
okay, I get it. Yes, 5 fires, 2 you set, and 2 you either stumbled upon or it happened just by bad luck. A lot of burning,
Yes.
though. If I were this medieval city, I think this would be like, this night would be like the Great Fire of London. You know,
Went to the fire station, but apparently that was a dead end.
right? Yeah. Okay, Eddie. Thank you. I'm muting you again. We got two other groups. Anyone from the other two groups want to chime in? I'm going to lower your hand too. There we go. I see no hands. Anybody?
I'm gonna find groups on the canvas and find out. Volunteer quick.
Nobody knows how to raise their hands, or we got the two people who know how to raise hands.
Yeah, Hannah from group 3.
We already talked to Hannah.
Eddie from group 1. We need somebody from group 2 and group 4. So let's see, like Daniel Korea, Alex would be from group 4. Maybe
Nobody
one of those
wants to
guys.
talk. Okay, well, I'm not going to force anybody.
Or Thomas.
Nick, how did your group do? Was that one of those two? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I was group 4, so I was DMing for. I was interested to see their perspective, but I suppose they might not want to go over it. But yeah, so I had Ian, Alex, Dan, Tom, and Brian. But
Okay.
so they followed a similar story to whoever was just talking. Eddie was just talking. So they went after. Well, they killed all the guards at the show.
Wow.
The theater. Yeah, they beat everybody up, and were there for a while. Yes, all of them. Yeah, even the big guy. The what's the sergeant's name? Yeah, even that guy. That was unexpected.
So for the one of the things you can adjust is how many guards there are, but I kept all of them, just figuring it's not a fight. It's a runaway thing, so let's keep them all so everybody runs away. But apparently not.
Yep. Yeah, I did take one away, but I guess maybe I should have left it. But I don't think it would have deterred them, and they might have just died. Most of them were pretty low by the time they left. So after that, they went to a faction so that they could like heal up. So I had them get healed at the faction. And then they went to the Arcana shop, whatever his name was. You know, that dude who was dead, the crossbow bolt guy.
Yeah. So it's interesting because so far we've heard from an inventor group and an Arcana shop. When I played it, we went to the Arcana shop. Did anybody go to Troglav Square? It seems like that's the not the road less taken, right? Nobody went to Troglav Square at all. I don't see anything. Even if you don't want to talk in the chat. Nope. Nobody even knows what Troglav Square is. Okay.
I believe my players mentioned it, and then they were like, "Oh no, that happened like yesterday or whatever it said on the news bulletin. So there's no reason to even go there."
Right.
So.
That's what we thought too. I think it's poorly written. If you, as far as getting the players to go there, there doesn't seem to be. There's a loose connection at best. And I think any group would only go there when they had exhausted everything else and they're like, I don't know what to do. Let's go there. Just try it. Whatever. Okay. So after did they start a fight in the Arcana shop?
Kind of. They talked to the guy upstairs. Well, so they stealth killed the guards outside first, I guess, and then talked to the cloak guy upstairs.
Okay.
But after a bit of hostility, a bit of intimidation, they were able to basically get him on their side, convince him that they didn't commit the crime, and basically leave him with the whole shop so that he could sort of be in charge of, checking out the evidence when they found that secret room. They
Yeah.
showed it to him, and he was able to identify the statue of Yansi Bin and all that, and be like, "Ooh, like this is great. Let me take this, and you guys can go." And they were like, "Okay." So he was like just looking after the place, and they sort of kept him as like a contact.
Okay, cool. And from there they went, did they go to the Birdmen or the Noble?
Yep, birds. Yeah, they went
Birds,
to the Kenku.
'cause
Yeah.
that's the way.
Yep.
And how'd that work out?
They were gonna kill them at first. I think Alex, maybe it was one of you guys. They went to go like attack one of the Kenku, um, and he missed really bad. So
Mhm.
then the other Kenku came up. We're like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, wait, what's going on?" There was no fight starting yet, but they were like, wary. And then Eddie's not. I'm like, Eddie, what do you mean? I don't remember that. Okay, yeah. But yeah, they saw the little girl. It was the same thing for them though. They wanted to save her as
Yeah.
well. They were like, "Oh, we need to save her." And then they figured out she was working with them. So they were like, "Oh, let's see maybe about hearing this out." And they ended up trying to talk to them.
Yeah. Avery, you broke the statue in the arcane place. Does that mean you had to fight a Mephit or two? 3. Okay, so the interesting thing is that you can get through basically, well, most of this adventure without actually fighting if you try. Right. Yeah, Luna kills everyone. Avery didn't want to fight anyone. I also it takes longer to fight than to not fight, depending on how you do it. Of course, you can talk a lot. Who is Barry? There seems to be a story there. Aaron, who was Barry? Somebody tell me who Barry was. One of the guards in the windmill. So
Okay.
Aaron.
This is the story of our campaign. So we did what I would call a genocide run of this campaign. So it began in the theater, as we all did, where they get framed for murder. And, they didn't kill everyone in the theater, but they did escape and left a large portion of it on fire. They escaped, and then once they left, one of our party members was like, "We need to leave town," but they have this newspaper. I'm just sitting there like, all right, guess. So it took a while for us to decide where we would go next, but we eventually went to the magic shop, where I can't remember. They I can't remember if we killed the guard outside. Anyway, he probably died knowing what happened. Oh yeah, we did kill the guard outside. And when we went in to investigate, they went upstairs, they met the wizard. They unsuccessfully convinced the wizard that they were of no harm, so they knocked him unconscious, stole the spell book, took the letter, and went downstairs, and then killed the mirror. So they thought the mirror was had more information than it actually did, when its sole reason is to just get people to sell stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they beat it up, and that's how they found the secret room, because there's a window behind it.
Right.
And that's when one of our party members, Avery, the rest of them are like, touch the statue, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, I hope they don't touch the statue. And Avery goes, I touched the statue. And I was like, what's your alignment? And it was like, it's not evil, right? And they're like, no. So they fought 3 Mephits. And then they left that shop, completely ransacked pretty much. And then they were at another impasse of where to next, so I just kind of was like, here, remember that newspaper with the things on it that we could look at? So then they went to see the Kenku.
Uh-huh.
And the Kenku were all slaughtered except for their leader one with the girl, who only gave them the information because honestly, if you saw your friends killed, you would freak out and just tell them whatever you wanted to know either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our bard realized they had comprehend languages halfway through the fight. Yeah. And so they started talking about that.
But it takes
And-
like 10 minutes to cast. It's if you don't set up beforehand, you're dependent on the little girl, I guess.
Yeah. And then so they left this one Kenku in this sewer filled with bodies
Yeah.
of other bird people. And then they went to the windmill. And this is where Barry comes in because they go to the bottom of the window and they start fighting the cultists on the bottom of the floor, but then the bard casts Charm Person.
Uh-huh.
So he becomes their friend, and then he goes upstairs and he tries to convince all the other assassins that he made new friends, and all of the other assassins, I just decided, hate this guy named Barry.
Poor Barry.
And every time they killed another cultist, I made him made a saving throw so he would break out, but he always failed so miserably. So here's this guy just watching all of his other friends die and being completely okay with it.
Yeah.
Then they go upstairs, they see the guy, he starts setting the evidence on fire, and he jumps out the window and escapes, but
Yeah.
they had the evidence, and then Barry lived, so we wrapped it up, and we had Barry go to rehab or something
Uh-huh.
in the end.
Okay.
Yeah, he went to therapy.
Okay. Well, Barry is the standout star of your story.
I didn't mean for him to be important. I was just like, his name's Barry now.
And yet, this is how it works, right? That you didn't the silly thing that you make up out of the blue becomes the most memorable thing. Poor Barry went to therapy after. Okay, so Nick, we kind of got sidetracked with Barry in the middle of your story.
Sorry.
No, it was not you. It was the chat.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
But I'm quite happy we got your story and the story of Barry. So when last we heard from Nick's group, they were talking to the Kenku, or did they fight the Kenku, or did they talk to the Kenku?
One guy attempted to sneak attack assassinate a Kenku, but he missed horribly. So then they ended up parlaying with the Kenku and sort of convincing them, like, hey, we're gonna, something like, we're gonna actually give you what you need or something, right?
Right.
And so then they end up telling him, all right, like, go check out the windmill and find that guy. So then they ended up going just over to the windmill.
Okay. So I was a player in this before I ran it, just like you guys. And when I played it, I was the half-orc paladin. And we went to the inventor's workshop, and from there we went to so only one group went to the rich mansion that was on fire, but my group went to the mansion that was on fire, and there's the noble trying to get away in his carriage, and assassins came for him. And we killed all the assassins. And then I intimidated the heck out of him. I said we were going to, chop him up and stuff. And he just spilled his guts. That got us to the windmill. But the big difference Eddie says they had a guard with a Scottish accent who watched his partner get decapitated. Happens. I like the Scottish accent. When we killed all the guys attacking the carriage, they all had those wingsuits on. And so we suited up. We put the wingsuits on and actually flew up to the top of the windmill from the outside and came in on the big bad without ever encountering any of the other guys. Which then, instead of there being kind of like the last act being a fight up the course of the windmill, the wing toe or whatever his name is, he took off, and we had this wild chase across the city skies where basically we all rolled initiative, and we would roll to catch up, and he would roll to see if he got out in front of us, and eventually, and I'm useless because I'm the big sword or hammer fighter, and it's all the kind of ranged weapon people or the spellcasters that can actually do anything against him. But basically, once they hit him enough, I stomped on his head and put him down, and he didn't even try to light the stuff on fire because we came in basically through holes in the ceiling. So he didn't know anything was happening until we were on him, which was interesting and a very different thing. So I just want to share this. Let's share this with everybody. DMs have seen this, should be. Let's see, Alt H, yes. That's why you have to block the windows, yes. Oh, yeah, Hannah, you had that too because you jumped out after him and insulted him. Yes, you are correct, but you're the only group who went to the mansion instead of the bird people. I'm not getting my usual green outline. Oh, there it is. Okay. Just making sure you can see the clue tree, everybody, right? Okay. So one of the reasons why this is basically a choose your own adventure, in that straight from the theater you get that newspaper and you get to choose between the magic shop, the inventor's workshop, or Troglav Square, which nobody talks to or goes to. And then from there, that takes you either to the Kenku or the Nobleman. And then from there, you get to the abandoned windmill. And in a video game, this kind of we get to go this one, but they all get us to the same place, is kind of called a false choice. But I don't think it is that, because it's a different story whichever way you go. So it's a different experience whichever way you go. And normally, in like a choose your own adventure, the point of the tree like this is to then go back and see all the other ways you could have gone. But the big one here is the three across. Can I mark it up? Oh yes, I can draw on this. I'm Madden. Yay. So the thing is, if you choose the magic store, then the other two go away, and you're not supposed to be able to go to them. So, for instance, when I ran these DMs through it, they went from the magic store to the inventor's workshop, and I had it on fire and surrounded by cops, so that they wouldn't waste more time essentially getting to the second tier. But like when you're playing, you don't know that the arrow goes this way. There's no reason why the arrow can't go this way, right? So if you have the time, there's no reason why you can't go the magic shop to the inventor's workshop and down to here, even though that just takes longer, right? Because you're all going to get to the windmill no matter what. So here's the thing: you're all going to be writing an adventure. Oh, also the other reason they do these kind of trees is because in the Adventurers Guild, they might run this adventure 5-6 times in a weekend, maybe 4 times in a weekend, because that's, hey, come by the store and play, DDX 210, right? That's this weekend, yay. So if you're a DM who has to run this 4 times, by the 4th time, it's yeah, you're going here, yeah, and it can get not so fresh, right? So one of the things they do is have these clue trees in the Adventurers Guild adventures, so that DMs get some variety, right? So they can feel like they're running a different adventure every time, right? So when you're writing, you only have, and I'm going to get into this more tomorrow, but you only have 6 pages plus maps and or pictures, right? So you don't have the space in terms of word count to do this kind of spread out thing. So can I change the color? How do I change the color? Oh, show edit tools. Nope. File tools. Nope. I guess I can't change the color. Come on, I want to change the color. Show page display. I'm trying things. Hand tool, fit width. Nope. Okay. So, well, wait. Can I do it here? No. Okay. So, essentially, if you look at this, this is 4 acts, right? You've got your act 1. Something happened. Can I do that? No. 1. No. What am I doing? I want to write. Here. Nope. Oh, no, that's signing. I'm playing here. Sorry, everybody. Let's do this. Ooh. Here we go. Okay, I'll do it that way. Act 1. Well, Act 2. Act 3. And Act 4. And here's the thing. There are dramas that are in 4 acts. There are dramas that are in 5 acts. 4-act dramas, Chekhov wrote in 4 acts. So if you go and look at The Cherry Orchard or Uncle Vanya, they're all in 4 acts, which is odd because most everything else is either 2 acts, 3 acts, or 5 acts. All of Shakespeare is in 5 acts because that was the form back then. Modern TV 1 hour shows are in 5 acts. Half hour shows are in 3 acts. And guess what that's about? That's commercials. So you have 5 acts in a 1 hour show because you have 4 commercial breaks. In a half hour show, you have 2 commercial breaks, so you have 3 acts. Chekhov wrote in 4 acts because he was trying to write musically. He was a musician and thought in terms of, and I confess I am not a musician and I didn't look this up beforehand. The 4 movements of, I want to say, not a symphony, but a chamber piece. If anyone's a musician, help me out. And they're named after kind of speeds. So there's the adagio, the allegretto, and essentially you can chart his concertos, I think they are, that are in 4 movements. And so you have a slow thing, a fast thing, a faster thing, and a slow thing again. Control E might work for color. Okay, thanks. So this is a little weird setup. The 5 acts of Shakespeare also come from breaks. The funny thing is, nowadays, we think in terms of a 2-act play. You have act 1 and then intermission in act 2. Whether you have a 5-act play, a 3-act play, a 4-act play, whatever, there's always an intermission and then the second half. Back then, one of the reasons why you had more acts was because during act breaks you could sell liquor and food, and liquor and food makes more money for the theater, essentially. So writers wrote that way. We don't have to worry about that here, but we can think in terms of acts again. So when you're writing, think of introduction. Oh, here's the other thing that I never talked about that I want to talk about. In 3 acts, I've been calling them beginning, middle, and end. Sorry, I want to go back to this. And I need to draw. I need a thicker, no, I need a thicker thing. And I would like, no, that's not what I would like. Well, let's go with that. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. In Glassner, he calls them complication, and then what's the next one that he calls it? It's complication, and I can't see, Alt H, complication. This goes back before plot, because I know what I call it, but he calls it something else. Complication, development. Oh, I lost it. Development. And finally, resolution. And it's gone. Resolution. Which is 1, 2, and 3, right? but I don't like that. That's not what I learned. Complication comes at the beginning, then development seems weak. It's when the story, he says it's when the story develops, and resolution is where we wrap it all up. What I learned was exposition, which is tell me the state of the world, tell me what's going on, and then complication, which is screw it all up, which is generally the act break, or even the catalyst moment. I can understand why you'd put complication in the first act, because that's the catalyst moment that complicates everything. But the majority of Act One is tell me about the world, tell me about the characters, tell me what normal is. And then we throw a monkey wrench in it all and keep complicating it and complicating it more, more obstacles to overcome. And then finally, resolution here. And I realize I forgot to say that in the Hero's Journey week, but these are really important concepts in that exposition. So one of the things that we always say is in prose, in novels, we say tell the story simply. In drama, if somebody is telling a story, you have failed. You want to show, don't tell. So it's much better in drama if you're watching people do things, to watch them do things, to see what's happening. But once we get to games and interactives, those are cutscenes, and that's when we rest, when somebody is showing us stuff. And people skip cutscenes altogether. So instead, we want to do don't show, because you remember what you did, right? I can describe those Kenku all I like, but you remember Barry because you charmed him and he became your pal, and he was part of what you did, rather than the wizard at the workshop that you talked to and he left, right? He's much less memorable. But the person that you affected, that changed, and that became part of your party against his own very nature, you did something to him. You affected the world. You changed everything. You remember that better. You remember the fires that you set better than where they were and what was going on and why it was, what the bigger thing about it is, right? The backstory. Okay, so tomorrow we'll talk more about, I'm going to stop the share. We'll talk more about writing adventures. Please, please, please go read the text of this adventure. And look at how it's written, and look at all the information that's in there. And I want you to think about what you all got while playing it versus what's in there. It's almost like a game of telephone, because while you're gonna find out whole things about what was going on that you didn't know from playing it. But Barry's not in there anywhere, right? Barry came out of Aaron. So, and he's much more memorable than all of the written backstory about who's plotting against who and trying to kill what and what evil cult is doing what, right? So go look it over. The Boys are barely in there. Most of it comes from your DM. Okay, so glad you enjoyed it. DMs, send me who played, and we'll see you all tomorrow.